Hello students, welcome to Veranda IAS. From the current affairs of environment, in this session we are going to learn about Asian Waterbird Census. The learning objectives of this particular session will be to discuss on Asian Waterbird Census AWC 2020. We'll examine the AWC in news and then further we'll analyze the scope of taking waterbird census. Then we will further explain AWC in India. So with that, let's begin first by introducing ourselves to the Asian Waterbird Census. Now we all know friends, there are various birds which travel thousands and thousands of miles from one region to another region, and they change according to the changing feathers of that particular region. Like if it is a summer in that particular region, they may shift to somewhere winter, or if it is a heavy or harsh winter in that region, they may shift or they may fly to certain we can say certain specifically warmer regions. So birds migrate a lot, and migration of birds has always been a fascinating topic since very long times. Okay, so now let's see what it is. Now, thousands of volunteers from Asia and Australasia. Australasia is a region which includes the country of Australia, New Zealand, and surrounding small islands which are like we can say Polynesia and all those things. So Australasia is simply the word used for the Australia, New Zealand, and that the countries nearby that. So it is outcome of volunteers from Asia and Australia which visit wetlands in their own countries to count water birds every January. So January is like we can say it's a period where people actually go visit wetlands and they will carry out the census. So basically it is one thing to understand that it is not a governmental program, but it is a citizen based voluntary program. Fine. The Asian Waterbird Census is a citizen science project. Remember, this, it is the voluntary program run by the citizens because of their interests in the saving the environments and all those things. So, if you have the idea of census, like what happens with the census, you get to know. Okay, these birds have not visited this year, so what may be the reasons? So okay, these birds are the new birds that have visited these regions. So they may give us a very great understanding about the ecosystem of the wetlands and all that region specifically. Now it runs concurrently with other international waterbird censuses, regional programs in Africa, Europe, West Asia, the Neotropics and the Caribbean. So overall we can say this project, like the citizen science project, we can say, if we are saying this is running not only in India or only in Australasia, it is running across various other countries. So the people from those countries voluntarily visit. Now it may not be always in the January for those countries, the climate may vary, so it may be the region or the time simply where actually it is important or where actually the migration of birds is happening that month they may be doing that. So it is happening in Africa, Europe, West Asia, the Neotropics and the Caribbean. Now it began in 1987 in Indian subcontinent. So that is the year. Now you can remember that as a fact for the prelims. Okay, there are two facts, very important fact for the prelims. So first one is this point, and the second one we can say it was started in 1987 and in the Indian subcontinent and has since expanded fast to cover the whole Asian continent from Afghanistan to Japan, Southeast Asia and the Australasia. So starting from 1987, it has achieved significant geographical reach. So now it covers whole of Asia and the other regions also. So now the whole East Asian Australian flyway. Now this is a flyway of the birds which we like. Flyway means what? The path from which the birds travel. So this will include from Arctic Russia, like this specific flyway will include the Arctic Russia. It extends from Arctic Russia, North America to the southern points of Australia and the New Zealand. So it is like covering a very large span, as well as considerable portion of the Central Asian flyway are also covered. Okay, so the flyways, again I will tell you, flyways are the regions, or we can say the paths from which the birds fly from one region to another region. Like for example, flamingo, it comes to India every year for starting around this end of the December to January, February, and they come almost from the Arctic Russia. Okay, Arctic islands and all those things, because the temperature at that times in that region is very harsh, winters are very harsh, so they come over here in India in some of the sanctuaries and all those things, people do visit that. So these flyways are basically the paths which birds have established since many years. So they will continue that path every year. So that is there. So that is about the East Asian Australian flyway, which extends from Arctic Russia to the Australia, New Zealand. And further, why it was in news. Now it was in news, that's why we are studying. So in Andhra Pradesh, the AWC 2020 has begun under the auspices of the Bombay Natural History Society in January 2021. So this is an important organization, Bombay Natural History Society. It was there in January 2021. They started, we have seen that it starts in January. So under the aegis of this organization, it has started in the Andhra Pradesh. Now further, the census, again this is important for the prelims. Further, the census is done yearly between the months of January and February. Now, January and February are the best periods or best times of the year to go to the bird sanctuary. Like for example, one which we have at the Salim Ali Orientology Institute or Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary, which is there in the Bharatpur near in the Rajasthan and Delhi route. So it is a very best place to visit. If you go there and visit in January and February, you will find hundreds and thousands of birds, which are birds from all over the world. They come over there in that period. So technically, this is the best month to visit. Those who are having the hobby of bird watching, they may be knowing, but those who are not knowing, but these are the best periods of year where you can see January and February. And this citizen science program that we have seen, wherein volunteers across Asia and Australasia visit wetlands in their country and count the water birds. Okay. Now further, what is the scope of waterbird census? So now what actually they do? First, by census we mean that obviously they will be collecting the data. So that is it, to collect data on waterbird population. Okay, waterbird populations at wetlands. Now, wetlands are significant ecosystems. They have a very significant impact and all those things. So, wetlands in the region on the annual basis during the non-breeding season of the most species. So, what actually, because of this data, we get an idea about which species are increasing, which species are decreasing, then what may be the reasons for that decrease. So, even overall, when we speak about this biodiversity conservations and all those things, this plays a very significant role. Because if they like, let's say some species are not visible for like 1, 2, 3 years, then what we can say now, are they critically endangered or are they getting extinct? So if they are getting critically endangered, extinct, or they are getting extinct, then what can be done? Some measures can be adopted for that. So that measures can be done. So that is what the waterbird census is all about. It is collecting that information. So this is the most important point, annual basis and during the non-breeding season. In order to keep track of status and condition of wetlands, citizens should be encouraged to learn more about waterbirds and the wetlands. Yes, this is becoming very significant in today's time. Now, for wetland conservation, we have very important convention we known as the Ramsar Convention, where UPSC has asked a lot of questions also. So, Ramsar Convention is very important. It is regarding the wetland conservations. Now, wetlands like wetlands and the swamps and all those things, these regions are decreasing, and with the decrease of wetlands, the biodiversity is also decreasing. So that's why preserving wetlands is important. We have Ramsar Convention in that context. So it is important that keep track of the status and condition of the wetlands. And again, people see, in environment, people play a very significant role. How do they play a very significant role? Because it is only the people who can implement on their own, who can individually make a difference, and at the same time, if they make individual differences, then governments has to take the steps to protect that. And just again, we cannot be just that irresponsible in today's time regarding the other species of the planets. Now, local wetland conservation efforts are being aided. So there are multiple people. You must have seen on the internet and all those things, like a single person has created a forest. So that's how, and individuals, local peoples, like we all know in NCRTs we have studied, there are communities like we know Chipko movement and all those things. What they did, they just saved the forests. They did it at their levels. They didn't know about the international what is happening and all those things. They just knew that environment for them, or the nature in which they are living, is important for them, and they have to take efforts. So even in wetlands, the local people are doing a significant work, but that encourages. Now again, the issue of environment versus development will be there, but still some important sites have to be conserved, and they have to be continued in the times to come also. Now, what is AWC in the news? Now let's see. Now, first, the organization, the Bombay Natural History Society and the Wetlands International collaborate to organize the AWC in India. Okay, Annual Bird Census. Waterbird Census. So it is this organization, remember this, a fact for the prelims from Bombay Natural History Society. Now BNHS is a pan-India wildlife research organization. Okay, this is the point, again important for the prelims. You will also have this information in the India yearbook. So what is it? It is a pan-India wildlife research organization that has been advocating for environmental protection since 1883. So it's very old organization which is talking about the protecting environment. Again, see the year 1883. Okay, so since then it has been working. Sokar Wetland Complex in Ladakh is the largest Ramsar site to be added to India's list of 42. So this is the largest wetland site in India. Okay, it is in Ladakh. Now 42 were there earlier. Now we have 43 Ramsar sites. Okay, Ramsar sites means these wetlands are to be protected. So the Ramsar Convention is about protecting the wetlands. Now this has been added over here. Now COP13, Conference on Parties 13th conference, 10 additional species were added to the CMS appendixes. Okay, so that is the information about AWSC in India. Again, the important is Bombay Natural History Society and its work, and then the wetland. And this wetland, as it is in news, you need to say it even from the geographics point of view as to where actually it lies. So in overall, we can say it is in Ladakh, but just go through the topography of that region also. But it is the latest Ramsar site to be added. So 42 were there earlier. Now if the question comes, it will be 43. And UPSC may ask these kind of factual information. We have generally the idea that they will not ask the factual information. But when it comes to these sites like tiger reserves and all those kind of things, then they do ask a factual information. So you have to remember, we have right now 43 Ramsar sites in India. Okay, remember this fact information. And then further, COP13, it added 10 additional species in the CMS of appendix. Now to summarize what we have learnt, we have learned the Asian Waterbird Census of 2020. Then we studied AWC in the news because it was started in Andhra Pradesh in the auspices of Bombay Natural History Society. Then further, we studied the scope of taking the waterbird census. Then we studied AWC in India. So with that, I hope you have understood the topic that we have discussed. That's it for this session. See you in another one. Thank you.